The Chicano Movement, a fight for equality. This movement was a significant part of the broader struggle for civil rights in America, aiming to address the unique challenges faced by the Chicano community. The 1960s were a time of big change in America. The country was undergoing a period of social upheaval and transformation, with various groups demanding justice and equality. People were fighting for civil rights. African Americans, women, and other marginalized groups were all pushing for their rights, and the Chicano community was no different. The Chicano movement was part of this fight. It was a grassroots effort that sought to bring attention to the injustices faced by Mexican Americans. Chicanos are people of Mexican descent born in the United States. They have a rich cultural heritage that blends Mexican traditions with American experiences. They wanted equal rights and respect. They sought to be treated with the same dignity and fairness as any other American citizen. Chicanos faced lots of problems. They dealt with issues like poverty, lack of educational opportunities, and inadequate housing. Discrimination was one of them. They were often subjected to prejudice and bias in various aspects of life, from employment to education. They were treated unfairly because of their heritage. This unfair treatment was a daily reality for many Chicanos, affecting their ability to thrive in American society. Many Chicanos felt like they were treated like second-class citizens. They were denied opportunities. They were often excluded from mainstream society and faced barriers that prevented them from achieving their full potential. They decided to fight back. The Chicano movement was born out of a desire to challenge these injustices and demand change. The Chicano movement was about more than just rights. It was about pride. It was about reclaiming their identity and celebrating their unique cultural heritage. Chicanos wanted to celebrate their culture. They organized cultural events, festivals, and educational programs to promote their history and traditions. They wanted their voices to be heard. They used protests, marches, and community meetings to raise awareness and advocate for their rights. The movement gave them a way to do that. It provided a platform for Chicanos to unite, speak out, and work towards a more just and equitable society for all. Struggles of a people, discrimination, and injustice. Chicanos faced many problems in the 1960s. They were a vibrant community with rich cultural traditions. Yet they were often marginalized and overlooked by mainstream society. One of the biggest was discrimination. This wasn't just a minor inconvenience. It was a pervasive issue that affected nearly every aspect of their lives. This means they were treated unfairly because of their race or origin. They were often seen as second-class citizens, unworthy of the same rights and opportunities as others. They had trouble getting good jobs. Many employers refused to hire them for positions that matched their skills and qualifications. Many worked in fields for low wages. These jobs were grueling and offered little in terms of financial stability or career advancement. Schools were a problem too. Education is supposed to be a great equalizer, but for Chicano children, it was often a source of further inequality. Many Chicano kids went to segregated schools. These schools were not just separate, but also unequal. These schools were separate from white schools. The separation was a constant reminder of their marginalized status. They often had fewer resources. This lack of resources meant that Chicano students were at a significant disadvantage compared to their white peers. This made it hard for Chicano kids to get a good education. Without a solid educational foundation, their future opportunities were severely limited. Housing was another issue. Chicanos were often forced to live in barrios. These neighborhoods were typically underdeveloped and lacked basic amenities. These were poor neighborhoods with few services. The infrastructure was often crumbling, and essential services like healthcare and sanitation were inadequate. All of these things made life hard for Chicanos. The economic hardships they faced were compounded by the systemic barriers that kept them from improving their situation. They knew things had to change. Despite the challenges, the Chicano community was resilient. They organized, protested, and fought for their rights, laying the groundwork for future generations to continue the struggle for equality and justice. Education on the line. The East LA Walkouts. In 1968, something big happened in Los Angeles. Chicano students walked out of their schools. This was the East LA Walkouts. Thousands of students took part. They were protesting the poor conditions in their schools. The students had many demands. They wanted better teachers and more Chicano history classes. They wanted to be treated with respect. The walkouts lasted for weeks. They got the attention of the whole country. The walkouts were a turning point. They showed the power of protest. They also showed the importance of education. The students were fighting for their future. They wanted a better chance in life. Voices of the movement: Chavez, Huerta, and Mecha. Many people led the Chicano movement. Cesar Chavez was one of the most important. He was a labor leader. He fought for the rights of farm workers. He co-founded the United Farm Workers Union. Dolores Huerta worked alongside Chavez. She was a powerful voice for farm workers. She helped organize boycotts and protests. She fought for better pay and working conditions. Mecha was another important group. It stands for Movimiento Estudiantil Chicano de Aztlán. It was a student organization. It fought for Chicano rights and education. Mecha is still active on college campuses today. Section 5. The Power of Art. Chicano culture finds its voice. The Chicano movement wasn't just about politics. It was about culture too. Chicanos wanted to celebrate their heritage. They did this through art, music, and literature. Chicano murals became popular. These were large paintings on walls. They often showed Chicano history and struggles. They were a way to tell their stories. Chicano writers also found their voice. They wrote about their experiences. They talked about discrimination and poverty. They also celebrated their culture and language. Section 6. Land, Labor, and Legacy. Chavez and the Farm Workers. Cesar Chavez became a symbol of the Chicano movement. He focused on farm workers' rights. They were some of the poorest and most exploited workers in America. Chavez organized boycotts of grapes and lettuce. He wanted consumers to support farm workers. He knew that putting pressure on businesses could lead to change. His work led to better conditions for farm workers. They got higher wages and better treatment. His legacy continues to inspire people today. Section 7. Beyond the Fields. Chicanos in Politics and Education. The Chicano movement had a big impact on politics. Chicanos started to run for office. They wanted to represent their communities. They fought for better schools and housing. They also pushed for more Chicano teachers. They knew that education was key to success. They wanted their children to learn about their history and culture. The movement helped Chicanos gain political power. They became a force to be reckoned with. They made their voices heard in the halls of government. Section 8. A lasting impact. The Chicano movement's legacy. The Chicano movement changed America. It brought attention to the struggles of Chicanos. It led to important laws and policies. It also inspired other movements for social justice. The movement showed the power of unity. When people come together, they can make a difference. It also showed the importance of fighting for what's right. The Chicano movement's legacy lives on today. It continues to inspire people to fight for equality and justice. Section 9. Still fighting. Chicano activism. Today, the Chicano movement may have started in the 1960s, but the fight is not over. Chicanos still face challenges today. They still experience discrimination. They still fight for their rights. Today's activists are fighting for immigration reform. They want to protect families. They are also fighting for better education and healthcare. They are working to empower their communities. They are using new tools and strategies. They are organizing online and using social media. They are raising awareness and building coalitions. They are the new generation of Chicano activists. Section 10. The future of Chicano identity. Challenges and opportunities. The Chicano identity has a rich and complex history, deeply rooted in the struggles and triumphs of the past. As we look to the future, we see a community that is both evolving and staying true to its roots. The Chicano community is changing. With each new generation, there are shifts in how identity is perceived and expressed. The younger generation is finding new ways to honor their heritage, while also embracing modern influences. More and more Latinos are identifying as Chicano. This resurgence is a testament to the enduring power of cultural pride and the desire to stay connected to one's roots. It's a movement that is gaining momentum, especially among the youth. They see it as a way to connect with their heritage. By participating in cultural events and traditions, they are keeping the spirit of their ancestors alive. This connection to the past provides a sense of belonging and identity. They are proud of their history and culture. This pride is evident in the way they celebrate their holidays, wear traditional clothing, and pass down stories from one generation to the next. It's a vibrant and living culture. The Chicano community faces challenges. Despite the progress made, there are still significant hurdles to overcome, including issues of discrimination, economic inequality, and access to education and healthcare, but they also have opportunities. The growing number of Chicano business owners and college students is a sign of progress and potential. These individuals are paving the way for future generations. They are a growing demographic. As their numbers increase, so does their influence in various sectors of society. This growth brings with it the potential for greater representation and advocacy. They have a strong voice. Chicano leaders are making their presence felt in politics, education, and community activism. Their voices are crucial in shaping policies and driving social change. They are working to create a better future for themselves and their children. Through education, community service, and activism, they are laying the groundwork for a brighter future. They are committed to ensuring that the next generation has more opportunities and fewer obstacles. The Chicano movement was a turning point in American history. It was a time of awakening and empowerment where Chicanos stood up for their rights and demanded to be heard. This movement has left a lasting legacy. It showed the world that Chicanos are here to stay. The movement was not just a moment in time, but the beginning of a continuous journey towards equality and recognition. It was a declaration of presence and pride. They are proud of who they are. This pride is reflected in the vibrant murals, the waving flags, and the joyous celebrations. It's a pride that is unshakable and deeply rooted in their identity. They will continue to fight for their rights and their place in society. The struggle for equality and justice is ongoing, and the Chicano community remains resilient and determined. They are committed to making their voices heard and their presence felt in every aspect of society.